wake up, God damn it. Welcome to MARKETcast with Unk and Market Monk. Morning, P. How was your week?
That was really good. Just some of the stuff really took off. The crypto read was just about perfect, going from AI to crypto just at the right time. Some of the AI stuff still, popped off pretty well, but yeah, definitely want to get into that AVGO discussion. I think that'll be good. But and then Ulta, John Deere, some of the healthcare stuff. I'm still just, I'm a little hesitant on tech at some overbought levels like the Apple Microsoft thing. So I sort of looked to other sectors. Oil surprised me to the downside. Actually did okay in a couple of trades, but nothing held together. So interested to see how that plays out going forward.
Yeah, definitely not a good week or a good, I guess, last couple almost month and a half in those metal materials. Oil,
Yeah,
gold, all that stuff, just kind of not really getting up off the floor as I expected. But the regulars sure pay off. You know, Mara, Mara was really big for me this week. Did pretty good there, and then obviously space. The AI plays in and out of those. CLSK, just again, all these regular names. I kind of want to point that
yeah,
out. ASTS, a lot of swing names. I'm trying to buy it over a couple days now, um, and get my full position instead of just picking a spot on a day that's like, all right, this is the low for the day, because the moves are just taking time. Um, the backside of that is you don't usually get full positions before the move, but you do get in more moves. So
yeah.
that's kind of been my game lately, and it's been less stressful and um, I guess more. I don't know the exact word. You're the word guy, but I'm getting more bang for my buck out of what we do. Um, that's the best way to put it for me. So, just continuation of that this week. Could get a lot of similar names, stuff we've been on the whole entire time we've been together. So, just good to see this process paying off if you're diligent. So, yeah, I'm really happy with that. Kind of surprised on um, how we did switch sectors. I don't know how you did that, but man, was that amazing going, because that's not me. That's not me saying. I mean, you're
Yeah,
definitely pulling that all up. But yeah, coming out of a 3 day weekend, that's the first thing I thought Tuesday was Bitcoin again out of a 3 day weekend. It's been a consistent trend. I actually wrote it down on a big post-it note. So
yeah. Just an incredible move, and part of it just comes from reading Point and MSTR, but really the one to me that stood out was Mara is better than Riot, and we just really nailed that because it's not always the case. Actually, Riot, I think last round was better, and then
mm-hmm.
Riot still will have like an 8% day or something, but the real explosive move um, happened with Mara, and when you're doing crypto, whether your focus is on like the little miners, the hives and huts and all that, or MSTR and the option side. I think Mara is the in between that you really want to stay on if you're doing crypto, and it just why not grab some of that if the sector's going to go because it performs so well.
Yeah, and first time, well, not the first time, but it's one of the most recent times where we talked through a chart, and came to that conclusion of Riot, Mara, or Mara being better than Riot, and
Yeah.
it was like that with Hut and Hive too. I got that
Yep.
wrong. I got that wrong, but they both had pretty good moves.
Yeah.
Hut had a better move than Hive. Um, the smalls are better there, to be honest with you. Probably not from the option side though. So I think
Yeah. Yeah. No. So it's the one thing that happened. The MSTR thing is it's a consequence of the float size and the premiums and the way the math works out. That those do actually do very well, even 3% moves. But yeah, share side. completely with you that the smaller stuff's where it's at. And coin, I keep saying, like, is built to punish people who try to swing it the way you get that intraday, up 3%, down 1%, up 5%. Just like nothing sustained there.
Yeah, I know it's kind of a pet peeve of mine on coin, but and it happens every time we both are on it. So I guess that's why I notice it and don't notice it other times. But we get to Thursday, Friday, and people are like, "Do I scale into these 65s long term?" It's like, why weren't you doing that at my level?
Yeah, yeah, I know the chasing,
Yeah, I,
because the chasing's so dangerous for coin in particular. And I was pointing this out about, like someone mentioned this with snow. I was looking for snow at 172, only got to 175, went ahead and got in. It's not really chasing there, if you call it that, is not the same as coin, because coin they'll just completely, the bottom will fall out. So if you're chasing it to the upside, you're actually kind of worse than 50-50 in your odds, because it's gonna it can come down 3% in 5 minutes and then go all the way back up. But if you're in shares, whatever, not a big deal. But if you're in options, all of a sudden you're down 60%.
oh
I
yeah,
mean, on something you just bought. Like, so no, you don't want to. And that's not even zero DTE. I'm talking like for next week. That's how violent those moves are. So yeah, you gotta wait. It'll come back to the level. If not tomorrow, then next week, or something. But you don't have to be in it just because it's running on a day. There's better fish.
better fish in the sea. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hard news play for me too. Um, it doesn't always react well to
Well,
news.
yeah, and the any after hours news is probably going to be bad, and you don't want to be in it then. I mean, maybe I think long term puts are the only thing I would swing on it, and I would just park some at one of our lines and say, I mean, at this point with it over 60, you could go to your pivot. They're
Yeah,
going to be kind of expensive, but you could go. I would go November 54p, and you'll be fine, because it at worst it's going to revisit that level. It's probably going to break down well below that on some news, but it's not just going to go to 80 and stay up there. That's not going to happen.
yeah. Coin's kind of backwards in that regard. Like we know it's going to be back to the 53.86 again. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how far north it goes. Like it's coming back down there, and like you're saying, eventually it probably
Right.
will break down again. Um, long term, but usually it's the other way. Like we're trying to test the level up. um, it's funny that one's that way.
Yeah, that's kind of a good question. Like, so what would be your level on coin where you're like, I'm gonna buy some shares
Well, your book
and
value.
keep this for a while. Exactly. And we were there,
Yeah, we already did that
and
down here.
we're gonna be there again. So yeah.
Yeah, that's I think that's where me and you do have a difference in that this chart is that theory is that we will get down there to the low 30s, upper
Mhm.
20s again. Because TA side, and obviously my bias is I have to be a bull if I only trade shares. I mean that's just kind of hand in
Yeah, yeah,
hand.
yeah. Right.
There's not much downside in this chart. I mean this chart's really healthy since the drop. I don't.
Yeah, it's
but there's
I mean,
those news. If anything comes in, you're right.
right. It's not quite even a flow thing right now. I kind of expect it to come in like the flow into the 30s again, but it's just trying to see how this news is going to play out. I still think Binance is done. It's a matter of time. I think the tether thing's going to blow up, but I think to me something that I'm getting more convinced about is this idea of Bitcoin dominance. And what I mean by that is, a lot of the alts are going to be finished,
Sure.
but that Bitcoin's still going to be around, and that as ETFs get approved, Bitcoin is going to act even more like a true commodity. Now that honestly, like, it's not, that means it's not going to a million a coin, but it's going to be controlled. And and there's some stability in that. And as far as like brokers go, the people are going to make it. I think Coin's going to make it, and I think Hood are going to make it. But a lot of regulatory obstacles that could take the stock down.
So I got a 50-50 for you. Does coin go to 30 or 75, 70? Let's go. Does coin go to 30 or 80 first? Which number does it touch from there
Oh
first?
yeah.
30 or 80?
Oh man.
Because I see the Binance news as, I mean, they close Binance tomorrow. Coin's on a run. Just on
Yeah.
market share
Well, the
perception.
I agree on the perception. The only thing about it is the extent to which Binance bots and wash sales and stuff like that prop up crypto.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
That's kind of unknown. Um, and then Tether blowing up would be bad for all crypto for a little while. But
I'm
yeah,
with
no,
you.
that's a good
I,
question. I mean, because I think it could move to 80, but we're talking about a little wick and then it crashes. So I'll honestly say 80 first.
okay, okay.
I will say 80 first, and I just think it eventually gets back to 30. But I might change on that. I'm just being stubborn for now, but
Well, you're
we'll
not
see.
because if you were really stubborn, you'd say 30 first. But you still see that the
Yeah. Oh
chart. You
yeah.
still
Yeah. Yeah.
understand the chart enough, and that's important. Part of this conversation is you understand the chart enough to know that that 80 move
Yeah.
doesn't take much.
And I'm still seeing just in terms of flow, MSTR, 400 to 500. I know it's a big range, but I think the 500C is so far out that they don't necessarily need that to go in the money. But there isn't a world where MSTR goes up above 400 and coins plummeting at the same time. Like that doesn't really mesh. So that's part of the reason I'm saying upside. Um, but be really cautious adding coin in the 60s because I
Yes.
think we could pull
Yeah.
back for
Yeah.
sure.
Or asking about the hundreds when it's in the 70s. Don't do that
Yeah,
either.
or telling me it wants it, like yeah,
Yeah.
like as like completely selling, you know, all out of coin. Like I'm all out of coin. You're all out of coin, and like as that's happening, it wants 100. If it wanted 100, we'd be keeping some. That's all I'm
Definitely.
saying.
100%. Um, what else did I have on that one? Oh, no, I'm with you. Like that's funny because catalyst wise, I'm with you. Like I'm with you. These all the baby coins or altcoins, whatever the hell they are, all kind of go away in the next couple of years somehow, some way. They are going
Yeah,
to go away, um, and then Bitcoin and Ethereum kind of being the two that are left standing. Um, the only negative I have for that, like the government involvement or that kind of like getting down to a couple coins and the government regulating it in some regard, which is going to happen if there's ETFs. I mean, that's kind of the backdoor to regulation, in my opinion. Um,
yeah,
is the people that were like anti-government, Bitcoin's the future, are going to slowly get pissed, and a lot of those people are the cold storage people. Um,
hmm
and that will bring the price down of Bitcoin a little bit. I think we do have a dip long term. Like if we just go with coin, the same thing we just did with
yes.
coin, I would say we're gonna go to 17 before we go to 60 again. Like that's where I see Bitcoin. It'll be back in the teens.
And then the question is, are the 401ks getting into Bitcoin going to be enough to offset that? Because that's what the ETFs will do. Also, in my opinion, is give a more stable way for the big funds to get into Bitcoin. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, no, I
Unless
completely
they're
agree.
buying everything on the market, right?
Yeah,
And then just, I mean, that's the only thing that stops that. And then they're just like, we're not letting Bitcoin go below 25K or something like that, or 20K, or that's the only way I see it's
yes,
not
yeah,
dipping back because of people not wanting to be involved in something that is involved with the government. That was like the allure of Bitcoin. It's anti-government, right? It's outside of the establishment. It's nothing to do with the stock market. And the more they merge, which they kind of need to work in a currency fashion or a commodity
yeah,
fashion, they have to. And the more they do that, I think those kind of people, they lose the allure, right? Like it's like Bud Light almost. You drink it, and then
Yeah, no,
when it does
exactly right.
something you don't want it to do, then you're like, oh, I'll
Yeah.
go find something else. So
There's a book I teach called Commodify Your Descent, and what it's about like '60s punk culture
hmm
and how like it got commodified in the sense that it started to get sold in the mall.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
it
exactly,
loses its edge.
exactly.
It loses its revolutionary quality when that happens, even though it's more profitable and marketable and more people are in it. Like so, the original people, feel like the movement kind of sold out. So yeah, that effect in crypto definitely is possible with these developments.
Yeah, I don't care if JP and Yedlin come out tomorrow holding hands saying Bitcoin's safe, buy it, we'll back it. I think
Yeah,
that moves down, not up.
yeah,
um, just because of again, like you're saying, that it takes away that edge um,
yeah.
that people believe in. Um, Perfect. What do you got for me this week over there in the old commodity side? Not Bitcoin.
Yeah. um, copper kind of took a leg down. 2% is a big drop, but big picture, it's still at 380. So 375 is still the area I'm looking at um, to hold. 350's line in the sand. Like we're in trouble if we get below that. But for now, I think that copper's still just kind of pulling back. What you're seeing happen is steel and aluminum pulling back as well, but less. So like they're holding up a little better. X is around a key line of mine. That's a stock we're going to talk about.
hmm
So I think that it's you want to be cautious about it. I wouldn't go anything short term long in metals, but you can move into some. I mean, shares are probably the best thing, but you can move into January calls at this point, maybe even with March or something like that, and stay modest with your goals. Don't go too far out of the money. I think you'll still do pretty well there. But it looks like we're going to test that 375 in copper. So that's one big thing I'm watching. And this often, by the way, like copper's my biggest leading indicator for the broader market too. Now, some of that during all the AI euphoria, they were kind of detached, but yeah, copper pulling back gets me cautious about the market as a whole. And then oil, um, below 70, I don't see 68 breaking down. So I think this level in oil coinciding with MRO, Oxy, Devon, just around or below some of my levels is one of those things you buy red, but option side don't go buying weeklies. You need time. So I still think oil will hold up okay and turn around from here. Getting to like 72 this week, sort of what I expect.
Man,
So we're caught in a range.
gas prices already going up back here. I sent a picture when I was golfing to the place across the street. It's back close to $5 out here already. Um, for me, that's kind of easy to figure out why. Like we don't have a lot of refineries in the area, and they got to get it here. Um,
Yeah,
Fuel costs are up, so to get fuel, you're paying more for fuel to get your fuel to you. um, and then we have obviously some tax things going on in our state. Um, but like copper, gold, uranium, the list is long. Steel, lithium, all that stuff. Like I need you for that, and I can't figure out why metals and materials aren't why they're dying. I guess like not really. Yeah, slowly bleeding out when they should be the ones that are kind of most stable, and in the other direction if we are coming out of this more stability right now. Just odd to me that all of these are just getting murdered right now. From the commodity side, like from the like gold's down to 1900, we were close to 2100. Silver was 26, um, back down to 22. So it's just like everything on the commodity side seems to be weighing down.
yeah. It's a lot of people on the last run up in gold. Um, saw it as the start of something, and with the banking crisis and all that, and that was just kind of one of those examples of a what they call like a pain trade, where there were just a lot of people off sides, and they brought it down. I didn't really expect that, but it just shows why you don't chase gold and silver, because as the pullback starts, it's like, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and get out, and those gold leaps I mentioned months ago were already up over 100%, so you can just cash out and wait. But yeah, no, that was surprising. Copper, I mean, the main pullback in copper, I think, has been the Chinese recovery stalling a little more than people had expected. That's been a big thing globally with copper. Just too much supply built up in different spots.
Yeah, I mean, we've been better part of the well, probably way over a year by now, but like there's always just one of the metals materials. I guess we had a little chemical run a week or two ago, but there's
Mhm.
always something that's strong. And this is the first
Yeah,
time where we've been in a lull where pretty much all metals, materials, all that stuff is there's not a strong sector right now.
the I mean, there's a
Is it
it's
tech?
not a
Is
coincidence
it
that
tech that's
that
taken
I
from it, or like what's going?
I think that's part of it. I had been in Brazilian stuff for a while because that was the only one that was really holding anything together. Um, Rio and Vale in particular. But
PBR.
yeah, no, I think it's that, yeah, it's that tech dominance is definitely part of it. You hadn't been getting that any kind of like sector rotation into materials. The only sector rotations I've been able to find reliably have been healthcare and then staples to some degree. But even then, it's not a full rotation. I mean, Apple still keeps coming right back, and Microsoft, and so yeah, it's that tech dominance is sort of just interrupting what I'd call like normal market mechanics a bit.
Interesting. Interesting. Probably should talk a little bit about Russia. Um,
Yeah,
I'll let you go first. i I'm
the
I'm a
yeah,
I'm a
I mean, it
conspiracy
was
guy, so you don't want to know what I think off the top.
yeah, the that all came about and kind of fizzled very fast was interesting. I mean, a little suspicious, I guess, too. The you get everyone got kind of a crash course in how that whole functions with this whole you get this mercenary army kind of doing its own thing. Seems like they kind of flex their muscle to get Russia to cave to some demands or whatever. Just seems like there's a lot of instability at the top right now in Russia. I'm expecting something to break there. But I think you have to be really cautious in the West, in particular, about the way propaganda functions. We think of propaganda as something they do in North Korea, but it gets pretty strong on this side of things too, especially all the little video clips you see on Twitter and all that. So um, yeah, I think if that coup had been going ongoing right now, you would have seen a big market reaction. I'm not sure we're going to get much though, given what happened.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, I was hoping it'd be means to an end, but yeah, I won't say too much. But I'm with you on the propaganda machine. We invented that, and
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, if you follow world politics at all, Russia's kind of always had the instability in politics. I mean, I have one guy that basically says, "Agree with me, or I'll kill you," and
yeah,
um, that's just how he's ran his government. So yeah, there's not a lot of stability in that in general. Um, Interesting. Yeah, I think there's going to be more to it throughout the week, but it all just probably go back to Ukraine news.
yeah, yeah.
Interesting they found that $6 billion, so that was interesting.
Well, that oh yeah, that's the one that the coincidence. Yeah.
Do you find does that cross your plate at all that we paid for that coup?
uh yeah, it does, and also um we like to put a face to things, and have this guy come up and be treated as a household name when he wasn't. The I mean, I think like you have to really follow this closely to know who Wagner was
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
his whole story. But like a whole mythology all of a sudden emerges about him
Mm.
right when this occurs, and that it feels like those stories were kind of ready. I mean, if you go to the conspiracy side, you start thinking CIA and like what's their involvement with this. But yeah, no, I think we definitely are we're definitely engaged with it, ready to kind of pounce on the story. Our degree of actually participating is um, is questionable. I think it'd be naive to say not at all. Like I think we definitely have some connections there. Yeah, and it's in our interest for Putin to face some obstacles. So
Yeah, I'm
so
not
we add fuel to that.
I'm not young enough to not know about the Contra. And
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it feels a lot like that. Um, it just feels a lot like that. We're not as good actors anymore. That's all I got to say. Or there's just too many cameras nowadays, right? Like in the 70s and 80s,
Yeah.
like photography was, you had 12 pictures on your camera or 30 pictures on your camera, and that's what you got. Um, if not, you had a guy with the flipping car battery on his shoulder, right? Like that's the only way to take videos, and that's not the case now. So it's harder to lie to us. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, it is, and I sort of
fishy.
wonder, like, when I see like you see the fighter jets over the barn, and the anti stuff aircraft stuff, and you got a camera filming it. I'm like, damn, that guy's holding that camera pretty still for
For being in a
watching
war zone.
missiles right in front of
In a
him,
war
for
zone.
being in, yeah, like he's like holding his phone up. I think it'd be shaking a little bit. So I don't know. Does he got a tripod? Like what's it like? I mean, stuff like that occurs to me. Just
The perfect
the
angle.
framing of some of the shots.
Yeah,
Yeah,
perfect
yeah,
angle.
yeah,
What really stands out right now to me, and it has since the start of this thing, is the comparison to Iraq. When we
Mhm.
went into Iraq, it was literally prime time night vision, like 4 hours of coverage of just bombing shit. Like
yeah,
they were showing us exactly what was like. This is the new age of war. It's live, it's on
yeah,
TV, and you don't get many big scenes from Ukraine. You get a lot of like damaged buildings and three or four blown out tanks, right? But it's nothing like on this large
right.
scale. It's nothing on this really big scale. Um, so that's interesting to me because Iraq, it was like the framing wasn't good because it was 4 miles away, right? But it was just all
Yeah,
these bombs blowing up in the city, um, and and you don't really see that action going on. It just less media, and I don't mean the scale. I mean more like there's just way less media coverage. They're not like they're fighting here, and here's the video of it, right? And it's really like gritty. Um, it's like you're saying,
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
perfectly framed one plane or one or two vehicles, 4 or 5 guys. Um, yeah. Again, they're not. I just
yeah. A
like.
little. It's a little like you ever see the movie Wag the Dog? I don't know if you've ever seen
Yeah.
that, but
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
that's all about, yeah, just they bring in like a film director to give them footage of this war they created. Yeah, so there's definitely a little bit of that going on. So yeah, I think you can be a critical thinker and skeptical, and you don't have to wear the tinfoil hat. It's not one or the other. So yeah, I'm with you completely.
Yeah. Yeah. Just still a major catalyst for me. The end of that. Um, so that's why I keep an eye on it. Other than that, I probably wouldn't pay too
Yeah,
much
for sure.
attention to it. And my son's over that way a little. He's close over there, so I gotta watch someone.
Yeah,
Um, I had one more. Oh, Spy. That's where we got to get. Uh,
yeah,
Pretty much a straight down week, but I'm gonna give you the dub because you pretty much nailed the bottom. Even though we were kind of Bob Barker, you were like 10 cents off the bottom. Um,
Yeah.
so I'll give you the dub this week, but it was pretty much just down from the start. Short week, trend straight back down. Talked about and read the room a bit how 430 is probably going to have to be tested, but the four
Yeah.
probably 425, 430, low 430 somethings might be a range we're stuck in if we're lucky. Um, just because after the Fed's event last month, 2 months ago, whatever it was, we had kind of a sell off for a week, and want to be mindful of that again, which would be this week. So I don't know how
Yes.
you feel
Yeah.
about that. Um, some consolidation here on the short term. Only thing I have counter to that on the good side is we're at the end of the month and end of a quarter. So maybe you do get some rotation, some positioning that holds the market up. Um, but I'm very, very cautious because last time we came out of the Fed's event, we just kind of had a quiet week, and it threw me off because I was very like, we're going to continue to melt up. I don't see anything else but going up, and that didn't happen for a week or week and a half or so. So I'm very cautious of it this time around.
Yes. And I think it would be uh I mean, okay, so option wise, there's a kind of trigger here where and I don't mean like call and put trigger, but if 427 breaks down, like I think we jolt down pretty big and could get to like 410 or something pretty quickly. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen though. So I think they might try to keep it above that. But I'm kind of with you on it being quiet. I think the best case scenario, if you want to be bullish this week, is to get the 430 test over with, and I think we can then move up from there. So I went. So if I won, it means I go first, right?
Yeah, go for it. I'm already telling you
Okay,
right
good.
now, I'm 425 on the downside. So
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna be farther
Yeah.
than
So
you
I think
there.
um, yeah, I'm gonna say 428. Will be my downside. But I think you could be right. I just if we get to 425, I'm kind of wondering because I'll talk about the OI I'm seeing and what I see happening there. But anyway, so I'm gonna say 428. I'm gonna be a little bit optimistic there. And upside 438. So I'm gonna have a pretty tight range this week. But what real quick, what I'm seeing is that there are some contracts that are not quite dead yet that I think could really start to resurface. I've got August 418, um, August 415. These are still kind of ask side heavy, and then I do have 721 400, but this is a make or break week for that one. Like I think they'll need to get even below your level for that contract to still be viable. But there's definitely the all the changes of the highest open interest are are puts, and they're slowly recovering. They had a pretty good week, and like 430 um, C for this week is really active. And I actually like if you're going to try to swing buy it all, 430p 630 is about $100, $115. And if we're going to test to the downside like that, that might be one to look at. You're playing with fire on zero DTE though, so I think if you're going to look
Yeah.
at something, go a few days out.
Yeah, I just see consolidation happening, and I'm a whole number guy, so I think that's more why 425 stands out.
Mm-hmm.
But just with the way it went last time, I think I get my wick, so I'm gonna go a little lower.
Yeah,
Your level's probably the one that your lower level is probably the one we rotate around more during the week. Um, I'm a dollar. So 425, 437 for me. I'm a dollar under you on the top. Um,
nice.
yeah, I kind of wanted to be honest with you. I wanted to go a little tighter range than that, um, but it should have its moments this week. I also talked about in Read the Room a lot of like of those sector focused numbers this week. You'll get stuff um, that pushes individual sectors if the reports are good. If inventory, wholesale inventory, stuff like that are good. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's catalyst to do it, but I'm just also mindful that we have made a big run over the last 6 weeks. So some consolidation at a level I've had on the chart for a while probably going to happen. I mean, I don't put lines on the chart for, I don't have 100 lines on the chart. So usually they hang out there before they make a decision, and that's kind of what I see this week is the start of a hangout week. Um, and there might be a few. I don't know. I really don't have a direction. Last time we came out of the Feds, I was very adamant about this market wants to go up. Um, I don't have that feeling right now, but I also don't think there's a big appetite to go super far down. And if you want to say that in the SPY coalition, I don't see 420 as a possibility right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean the thing with SPY, like to me, Apple and Microsoft um, can get a pretty healthy pullback, and the percentages on it, on a day to day basis could look kind of ugly. Like Microsoft could have a 2-3% down day, but really with where it's coming from, like that's big picture. That's not that big of a deal. Apple, nothing about their sales numbers has been that great really to justify being up here. And it would kind of make sense for that to get back to 180. And when those make up such a big percentage of SPY, that could be the thing that gets us down to your level. But then with it being the end of the month, it would not surprise me if those pull back and then ramp up into the close of the week,
Close of
just
the week.
because funds they want to own Apple, they want to own Microsoft. So
And
yeah,
there's your
that could be how that
sideways
plays out.
action. There's your sideways action
Yeah,
right there.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Perfect. You got anything else ready to work or?
Uh, Real quick, let me take a look at something here. Yeah, so we mentioned briefly gold and silver, and I I'm kind of adamant that if you want gold and silver, you have to be thinking about it pretty soon, because you definitely don't want to chase it, and um, it starts to come down to like some individual names. Is I mean, where do you think AG is going? Is AG going to be a $3 stock? This is not. They're not an EV company that's not making cars. Okay, so like I mean, as ugly as the chart has been, it's probably a $7-8 stock, and it's 533 right now. Can it go to five? Yeah. Could it go to 485? I mean, it could, but that's where you just like where you keep saying have a plan, and I don't mean have a plan. That's something the Furus say when a trade goes bad. But I mean like legitimately, what is it you're trying to do with silver? How much are you trying to allocate towards it? Um, what specific price are you going to buy at? So I'm going to try to help people with that this week. But this isn't your Ulta 200% contract kind of trade. So, but I still think it's worth it. So in the second segment, we'll get into what's going on there. But yeah, definitely be watching gold and silver this week.
Yeah,
Eh,
I always leave those ones to you because the moves are so driven by um, world conditions, geopolitical
Yeah,
conditions, stuff like that, and you tend to nail those. So with you though on the
and
charts, there's some charts in that sector that are just, are you kidding me?
and
miners are more what stand out to me, but again,
yeah, they just been bleeding out for there's no firm reason for it. So
they're
yeah,
not
there's some
sexy.
opportunities there.
They're not
Nope.
sexy.
And then the last thing, banking. Um, I expect some big pressure to the downside for banking coming up. So that like I think that's the regional banks, and then even like some of the big ones. might get another leg down this week. So there could be an opportunity there. And as much as like I like BAC, you've seen what it's doing here, where
Yeah,
like it
yeah,
can't get over 30.
yep.
So I think you're fine with shares down here, but to me, that's not really. There's no trade there yet,
Hmm.
um, but it's a decent spot to accumulate shares. And so a lot of the big names are going to be like that, and I'm going to cover that quite a bit in notes this week too.
Yeah, it seems like at this point in time, they're the only ones really affected by rates. Everyone else has figured out their their budget, their money, their credit. Um, but banks, it's continued pressure because it's kind of how they make money. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
the more that goes on, the longer that goes on. Yeah, I think they're. I don't think they have a reason to go up. I've been watching Key with you the whole time, and
yeah.
it tried, and then it just there's not a lot of activity there. Too much headwind. Too much headwind to go
Yeah,
forward.
I've been hitting key for the 5 to 8% little short swings, but I'm not looking to diamond hand it because you can see it falling back down. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, we're not getting the big move yet. So yeah, that's definitely an area of weakness in the market overall to keep an eye on. But yeah, that's all I had for segment one.
Perfect. All right. Well, let's get to work.